Welcome to Launch Code, a premier business podcast, starring Evan Hafer, Matt Best, and Jared Taylor.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Launch Code. So recently, we had Tim Jensen on this show, and he told a very good story. And we kind of came to the conclusion that that you put out a test on him when you offered him the first job to fold shirts. Kind of, whereas he wanted the art job when he first came to you as an illustrator or whatever comic book illustrator, the stuff that he was working on, and you said, "How about you come fold shirts?"
That's how he remembers it. I don't think that's what happened. He did interview, and he interviewed to work in our production department, which I mean is a room half the size of that we're in right now. Yeah. And he comes in an interview and had a lot of chops. He was making like $70,000 a year, and he shows me his art portfolio, and I'm like, I don't think you need this to fold shirts, but sure. But definitely a lot of great energy out of him, and normally I finish all my interviews before I call someone back, and I just had to call him back right away. I'm like, hey, I know you make $70K right now. Would you be interested in $9 an hour?
And ladies and gentlemen, that voice you're hearing right there is Mr. Daniel Alarik. How do you pronounce it? Alarik. The founder and owner of Grunt Style. So now we get the even longer story. So because we started at where Tim started, where you were already in Chicago, had a facility, had things moving. So we want to hear what happened in the beginning. When did this idea come to play? How did it spark? Matt and I last week just did a show on where Art 15 came from and kind of dug back into, the wheres and whys. I mean, from 2008 to essentially 2011, the space was wide open. All you had was Ranger Up. And they were producing their blog and a few funny videos here and there. And that was always, to us, that was kind of our staple of, who we wanted to go after and kind of be at that level.
Yeah, they were the gold standard, definitely.
So where did it start?
It was, I was still a drill sergeant down at Fort Benning, and my wife turned to me as I was getting asked to extend for another year down there. I asked her, "Are you okay with this?" Because she stayed in Chicago with our baby at the time, and she said, "Sure, if you stay down there, we'll make sure that we're not here when you get back." So I was like, "Okay, let me think about what we're doing next." So I started thinking about my next job, and I was infantry drill sergeant. So many career opportunities for you when you get out. So I mean, I was thinking, should I go back to school?
The wall knocked down.
No, well, Blart Mall Cop just came out recently, and that honestly looked like my career options at the time. So, and the other part of me didn't want to leave the military. I absolutely love the culture of pride, patriotism, etc. And I was afraid of losing that when I got out. So I thought, what if I could take that with me? So essentially, plus my family needed to eat. So I said, what if I made it my mission to spread that pride and patriotism, that culture that we have in the military, to every home in America? So I had about $1,200, made a bunch of T-shirts down in Columbus, Georgia, threw in the back of my car, and I just started driving around the country.
Just driving around.
Well, I would coordinate with MMA shows. I'd go to flea markets, county fairs.
Just set up a table.
I'd set up a table, military bases, whatever.
What was your first designs?
Oh, they were hideous. They're really bad. I made 6. I still have one of the original ones. I never sold. It was just one of my tests. And I think I went to like Custom Ink or one of those things and got some garbage direct-to-garment printer and shirts, which that technology was bad at the time. And it was like the infantryman's creed on a super boot shirt. But I think I got a couple of my first ones still hanging around somewhere.
And so, setting up these booths and everything like that, like what was the initial reception? Because I mean, this is pre-online. Like,
yeah,
you're going out and sitting there like, hey, you want a T-shirt?
Yeah, it was the last week of November 2009 when we did our first sale, and by we I mean me. And I set up a 6-foot table, and I made $3,000 in 2 hours.
Holy cow.
We sold.
Where was this at?
This was at Fort Benning. I coordinated with AFES. I'm like, hey, I want to go work.
Like outside the PX?
Not. I did set up something in February outside the PX for a few months, But it was like that. So I'd coordinate with any events that they were doing, whether I'd be at the gym. Sometimes I'd coordinate with like the first sergeants or commanders. I'm like, hey, if you guys are having a fun night or a barbecue or something like that, let me know, and I'd love to support that.
That's cool. So then where did it go from there? Like you ended the job as a drill sergeant, moved back up to Chicago, and when was that business step of, hey, let's start making this, let's create?
Well, that was always the intention. I just didn't know what the hell I was doing. I mean, literally at one point I Googled what is business. I just didn't know what I was doing. I spent 3 years driving around, sleeping in my car, going everywhere I could, trying to spin up sales. I remember the first time I got an online order from someone I didn't know. It was really exciting. I'm like, okay, wait, that's not my aunt, that's not my cousin. Oh my gosh, I don't know this person. This is amazing. And I'm trying to troll them. I'm like, where?
What was your first software that you used for the online store? Because I remember my first e-commerce store was a Yahoo like plug and play store.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. Mine was so I had a little front end development background from high school. So I programmed mostly myself from a platform called OS Commerce. I'm pretty sure it's nearly extinct now. But I built that. If you go to what is it? What's that web page time machine? You know talking about the website?
Yeah, the one that will go back in time.
Yeah. Oh, Wayback Machine. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You could still see some remnants of it in the framing of it. It's pretty hideous.
Yeah, back when websites had frames and
you had frames and tables, and it was bad. There's no response.
So what year did you put it online? Did you say, okay, this should probably live in a website to alleviate from you having to drive around, or was that kind of the plan? Or
it was always on a website. The problem is nobody knew about it. So I had a brilliant idea. I took the very little money I had and I bought this billboard right outside of Fort Benning on the gate to the main gate. It was like on exit 4. So if you imagine the main gate's exit 0, this is on exit 4. So 4 miles going into the gate, and nobody stopped anywhere between those two. It's all pawn shops and divorce courts. So I put this awesome billboard up there. Spent $1,000 a month on this thing, which was more money than I can afford. But I'm like, I'm gonna make so much money that it's just going to basically rain once I put that sign up there. Everyone's going to go to the website because all these graduations, you have Ranger School, Airborne School, all the infantry basic training. It's going to be awesome. I don't think anyone ever went to our store at all. Nearly bankrupt us. It was really bad. I was 6 months behind on something that was $1,000 a month.
Oh, so you ran it for 6 months?
I pulled it off. Well, I think it's not like I voluntarily pulled it off. No, they said, you haven't paid in 6 months. We're taking it down. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I've never not paid a bill in my life. I will pay you, but it's not going to be today.
So then, let's get to the name. When did you come up with the name, the logo? How did that, where did that spark?
So I was working on it when I was on, I'd go to the ranges, training the troops and everything like that. So I started working on it before I got out. And right before I got out, I asked my 2 roommates, which were 2 other drill sergeants at the time, and my first sergeant, I'm like, hey, do you guys want to jump in, minority partners, and we'll work on this together. So I think we used to go to Red Robin like every Sunday and just get hammered in front of the kids because it was appropriate. And then But I wrote down a list of names, and I said, here's 10 names that I like. They may have agreed or disagreed, and I said, let's go down and vote on them. So we started voting on them, and it turns out some of them have domain names already registered. I'm like, all right, let's just choose the first one that wasn't registered, because the original name for
what are some of the other names?
It's so bad.
Go down the list.
Really bad. I only remember one of them. It's really embarrassing.
Go for it.
Urban Soldier.
Well, that's not bad.
It's bad.
Because there was actually a TV project that I was working on in around 2009. They used that name, so they probably bought the domain.
It wasn't. It wasn't available. Thank goodness.
No, that's great. And then the logo, like, how did that come about? Was it a long process, or did you have exactly kind of what you wanted in your head?
The original logo was more like a cow branding, and it had a little cute little fun star over the Y for some reason, like I was a 14-year-old girl with gel pens. But after about a year or two, and this is before we really had much traction, but I just got into social media. I'm like, you know what? I really want to change the logo because before we start getting popular or gain traction, I want to make sure we have it right. And I keep looking at these European coat of arms, and each one of the symbols means something. I'm like, the military has that, right? Where your guide on each position of every letter and number, the colors, they all mean something.
Every squadron patch or something, everything has a symbol with a color that goes with it, and yeah.
So, and that's what I built the logo around. I mean, it was not, at least at the time, nobody did cross rifles anything, at least not that I knew of. Or cross anything. Right now, it's more popular now. But I think people, I don't think necessarily they're copying us. I think people understand that we can have more meaning behind our logo besides it's fun Silicon Valley app logos. We want logos that mean something. There's a lot of companies out there right now, especially in the military community, where you can pull apart the logo and everything means something. And I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So timeline now, where are we at? We're in 2010, 11. You're going back to Chicago.
I would drive back and forth probably a couple times a month. I would do at least 20,000 miles a month.
Holy cow.
It was a lot of road time. No. I might remember that wrong. It wasn't a month. I would do about 85,000 miles a year. That's what it was.
God, that's
okay, but
brutal.
Still a lot of driving.
Practically a trucker.
Could have been. I knew all the good stops.
So yeah, you get up to Chicago. When do you get your first building? Like when was it like we could get an office now? We need to get this out of the house.
It was it started in January 2012. Very beginning of January. My wife looks at me. She's like, "Hey, you need to shut this thing down. You've been doing this for 3 years. You make $20,000 a month, and it costs you $21,000 to do it." And she's like, "This is not working." She's an accountant by trade, so and I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "We have one trade show coming up. It's in Vegas. It's the first one ever. I think I can make this work. If it works," I said, "that's our sign from the infantry gods that we should stay in business." She's like, "Okay, all right, fine, that's it." Because it was just in a few weeks.
What show was it?
The ANME show. You familiar with that one? Mm-mm. It's the Army, Navy, military, something.
Really? We need to look into this.
It's like where
Dave, look into that.
It's where all the when you go to like Bob's Army Navy store, surplus stores, that's where they go. That's their trade show.
Oh, okay.
So the shop owners go around there looking at all the new old canteens.
The new old canteens.
Right. So I'm like, this is the perfect market for us. We need to be on all these Army Navy stores. And I've done the research on it. There was like 242 Army Navy stores nationwide at the time. I'm like, I'm going to be in every one of them. And if they can all order $1,000 a month, that's whatever, right? The smart math when you're starting up, right?
Yeah.
If we can just get 1% of the $50 billion Gulf shrimp market.
That's where we're going.
So we go to the show and we scrape together, all the little money we had, and we weren't poor, but we were definitely broke. The difference. So we take the budget. We fly standby on budget airlines, and we take the free shuttle to the hotel. We walk about a mile and a half to the grocery store, and we buy a loaf of bread and a jar of peanut butter, and that's all we ate for the next 2.5 days during the show. We just didn't have any money, except for she had one Groupon, and so we got to split a hamburger on a meal, which was nice. And then we just hustled this whole show. I had her put on a tight T-shirt, and she would go around the show and bring the old guys back to my booth, and then I would try to close them. Before we left, she made me promise. She's like, if you don't make $6,000 at the show, you're shutting the doors. So we had
a goal.
Yeah, we had a goal. So we were working the entire show, and we finally get back on the plane after the show's over and tally up the receipts, and it was $6,200.
Oh, squeaking by.
And it didn't feel like a sign of relief. It was if that was the sign from the gods, that was a very underwhelming, disappointing sign.
But you met her minimum.
Met the minimum. And after that, I spent most of the time. It was enough to keep us in business, but I spent most of our time in social media after that, and just focusing. I'm like, every day I would wake up. I was working 2 other jobs at the same time because now I'm home. I would say, okay, today I'm not going home until I get 20 email addresses and get X amount of Facebook fans. Facebook fans mattered at the time.
Yes. I mean, that was a big deal. Like,
oh, it's huge.
1,000 was was a big deal.
I remember
10,000 was a big deal.
I remember when we hit 6,000 fans, I made a Grunt Style Legion T-shirt just in honor of that because I thought we were so huge. I was in the Guard at the time, and the Illinois Guard. And I'm like, I got more fans than your brigade, buddy.
Yeah,
like
I remember
that mattered, right?
Linking up with Funker 530 way early on. They were about 7,000 fans, and they had posted me up on there in like 2000, late 11, early 12.
That's a lot of fans back then.
I'm fucking famous.
7,000 fans.
Yeah, man, my picture was got 400 likes. Everybody knows me now.
But that's how it was. The organic reach back
impressive.
Then. You had 7,000 fans. You post something, 7,000 people would see it.
10 people on the internet that had 1 million Facebook fans.
It was Skittles was one of them.
And like Beyonce.
Yeah. Or Lady Gaga, I think at the time.
Yeah. And that was it. It was like oh, there's and really it's funny if you think about the psychology back then. You'd get intimidated by a big page or somebody that had 100,000. You're like, whoa. And that was kind of what me and Matt were talking about. It's like at that time period, the most famous personality in the firearm industry was Chris Costa. He was the first dude, like actual personality, firearms instructor to reach 100,000 followers. And that's why he was loaded with all these sponsor deals, because he was like the most popular dude on the internet at the time.
Even up to 2013, I mean, somebody with 1 million fans can get $20,000-$30,000 a month in just sponsorships.
Oh,
it's
easily.
with one sponsor. It was insane.
So yeah, so you would just say, set yourself milestones every day.
And that's I figured out. I was very early on the pictures memes. Right,
yes.
That before memes really kind of took off. So and it's just watching trends. I talked to a couple other buddies that were
listening to the jokes and things like that.
That's it. And my whole goal was like, I want to make something that someone wants to say hell yeah, click share, because they want to say this is me. And so I just kept focusing on that, growing the page, and we started growing, almost doubling every month for the next 12 months. So it went from 6,000 a month. By I think December that year, we did $64,000 in December, just 1 month, which was life changing at the time for us.
Yeah, no, and then where's it go from there?
So it was a few months earlier than that. That's when my wife turned to me. We're in this apartment it was the three of us. It was about the size of the room we're in right now, probably a little bit smaller. And my wife looked at me. She's like, "Hey, listen, you got a lot of boxes here. You're heat pressing your T-shirts at night, watching reruns of Judge Judy while you're still having another job. Quit your job and then go get a place."
That year, I stopped into 9 Line too, and it was 2 heat presses in a tiny building right off the freeway. Like,
yeah, they were. Yeah.
Oh, here we are.
Heat presses were. That's a funny story too. How I got into that, because I didn't want to make anything. But one of my old drill sergeant buddies, his brother called me from Texas, and he's like, "Hey, I know you do custom shirts. Can you make something for my crew, for my softball team?" I'm like, "Sure." And he wanted individual numbers, and so it's all vinyl. And I called around. I did the artwork, and nobody wanted to take the order from me, so I couldn't sub it out. Yeah. So I'm like, "Well, forget it. I'm just going to go buy my own heat press and do it." And I priced it out, and I'm like, "Ugh, he's never going to buy it," because I wanted to at least cost out. I didn't want to make money, but at least cover the equipment. And it turned out to be like $40 a shirt. So I called him up. I'm like, "Hey, man, it's $40 a shirt." He's like, "Okay, here's my card." And that's how we got started.
Holy cow! and so then where?
So then 2012, we started with 2 people, both part-time. Someone doing shipping and customer service, which was one like bedroom size room, and then the production, which is kind of the hallway, and then I had my office. And then we just started growing. We went, from 2 part-timers to 6 full-timers to, new offices, and they just kept growing month after month after month. I think we moved probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times in 2.5 years.
Wow, just getting bigger,
just growing, yeah.
And then so now as we crest into 2013, 14, 15, those are like the hot years. Like, this is when social media kind of turned on. It became culture to everybody, and now it was the race of getting eyeballs to your stuff.
Yeah, it was just it was much simpler back then. If you just disciplined yourself on, hey, we're going to post, whatever your cadence is, you just discipline yourself to that, you could be very successful. And
converting was so easy then.
Well, I think the organic reach in 2000, even 14, was you would still reach 40% of your audience, 60% of your audience pretty easily. Now it's 1 or 2%.
Yeah,
it's brutal out there.
Times are changing.
I mean, I just I went to a $2 theater show the other day, and they had a Facebook commercial in there right before the show. Put the movie on, and it was Pacific Rim 2. If you haven't seen it yet,
yes, I have.
Oh, it was good? That a great movie?
Yeah,
the acting, the script.
They were that was surprising. Like, I like the first one though. A lot of people talk shit about the first one.
I've seen the first one twice. It's entertaining. That's a Saturday afternoon movie.
Yeah,
it's enjoyable.
And then the second one was good.
Ooh, that was bad.
You didn't like it?
You liked it,
dude? I like flashy fucking monster things. Like,
I mean,
I'm more simple.
I'm a bit. So my son and I, who's 8, we went to Japan last year. We went on a Godzilla binge.
Yeah.
We must have saw like 20 of these really old, horrible Japanese movies, and they were all great.
It's funny. Like, you got to add up all the Marvel movies and all these movies, and how many times and how many cities have we destroyed?
All of them
in the last 10 years.
Nobody.
Like, nothing's left. Like, when the Avengers get in a fight, like, you're causing an entire city getting destroyed.
What I like is the anti-gun policies after the movies, because we don't want to support violence.
Well, I have a hunch. Do you watch all the Marvel movies?
I've seen all of them but the last Avenger one.
Okay, so there's a very weird, almost like a forced narrative in the Marvel movies against AR-15s, and there's always this one line somewhere in the movie that highlights like so Winter Soldier, one of the guys says, they're mercenaries armed with AR-15s, so we know they're deadly. And then Black Panther, the beginning of it, there's 2 Vietnam style AR-15s on the table when they're gonna rob this bank that they're planning. In the new Thor, he has 2 Vietnam-style AR-15s, the Gatekeeper, and he's like, these are death machines. I got them in Texas. Like, so there's this. I think the writers are like, and literally, like, in Thor, like, the capstone of the movie when he comes back and saves the day, he grabs the 2 M16s and.
Oh, those were he had the ghost clips or the ghost gun clips or something.
Just unlimited ammo.
Yeah, that was great. Stole it from Rambo.
Death machines. I kind of want to rip all those and start and cut that together and claim that it's a big conspiracy by,
guaranteed traffic if you do that. That's good. I like it.
Yeah. So then, when did it really launch off? Like you said, you had that $60,000 month in December, which December is always the best month.
It is. Well, so I didn't have seasons back then. So I mean, this is when we really made an online presence. So I thought January, I'm like, okay, we're gonna go super depressed, but we kept growing. I mean, I think January that very next month we did 56,000. So it wasn't a drop much of it at all, even though it was seasonal. And February, every month after that was our best month ever. We just kept growing month after month after month.
That's awesome. And then, so what? As you crest, where the highest point when you're in Chicago? How many people are working there? And then, what prompted the decision to move?
Last June, I met with Tim and then Mike, who was our CMO at the time, and we were talking about, like, let's go through our 10-year before we finish our 1-year strategy. Let's figure out where we want to be in 10 years. So we were going through that, and our big decision was, okay, if we're going to establish ourselves as a significant brand and we really want to make an impact with culture, we got to be authentic. And to do that, we need to be the American brand. It's no longer grunt style, military, and patriotic apparel. It's grunt style. We're the American brand. If Louis Vuitton is the French brand, Giorgio Armani is the Italian brand, we want to be the American brand, but we just don't want to be snobby and fancy. We want to be classic and cultured, which bomber jackets, pea coats, straight jeans, just T-shirts, just normal American stuff, but super high quality. that at a reasonable price. And to be authentic, we don't want to made them in Vietnam. We don't want to made them in China. I don't care if you want your stuff there. And if you can message me on Facebook on your Chinese-made iPhone saying that you only buy American, that's fine.
That's the greatest.
And I comment on someone. He's like, "This stuff was assembled in Mexico from American fabric one time." And this guy posted, he's like, "I'm never buying from you again." Blah blah blah. And he's like, "This is not made in America." And I just commented back, "Star sent me from my iPhone."
It's crazy. Well, what those people don't understand is try and get it made in America.
And that's what we're trying to do. It's hard. It's so hard.
There's a very hard problem in America when you have money that you want to give to somebody and they're going to return to you something on time and correct. There's a large it's almost extinct.
I have called manufacturers and my conversation, because they just won't work with, they're just so slow. And I'm like, and I left a message with a VP of sales one time. I'm like, I want to give you money for your product. If you're interested in doing business like this, please call me.
For your product on time, and I want it to work.
Well, we didn't get that far in terms.
Hey, that wasn't on the term sheet.
So San Antonio, Texas made sense if we're gonna. We realized we have to open up our own factories, and we have to ship faster. So that means more fulfillment facilities. That means more factories, and I want to be close to where the action's going to be, not where it is. So I made the decision, and I was the first one to move back in August. We opened up our first factory 2 months ago. We're making awesome button-downs, all made in San Antonio, Texas.
Oh, yeah.
And we got plans for a gear factory, a footwear factory on the next 12 to 18 months.
That's awesome. So let's talk about the future then. Like what's going on with the future of the events? What's going on with the future of this gear and things like that?
I want to clothe you 7 days a week in any scenario, and the American brand.
I like it.
That's our future, and the reason why we do it.
We want you to drink our coffee in the morning while you're getting your clothes on.
That is a fact.
And then the whiskey in the evening.
You have a lot of fans in our building.
That's awesome. Well, you guys launched your coffee last week.
Oh, we did.
I keep seeing they're feeding me the ads.
I know. That's how we learned that. Our VP of marketing called me up and he's like, "I think the coffee's live." I'm like, "Why do you say that?" He's like, "I'm seeing Facebook ads for it." I'm like, "Well, they got a good audience set." So we're excited for it. And it's a great name. I think the label looks good.
I like it. Yeah, I'm glad that we went all green. That was kind of a note Matt and I. When we got the initial, where it was alternating, we're like, no, go full green.
Go all green.
Cool.
Go green. Yeah, it looks a bit more authentic. Looks kind of real. Kind of matches the name.
So yeah, if you haven't checked that out, get online and look at the Grunt Styles coffee, housed at BlackRifleCoffee.com.
Did you want to mention the website?
And well, you're going to do that for you.
Oh,
at the end.
Okay.
Where everybody can find you, but I want to hear about the events. Like those are starting to heat up. The one we went to was massive. It was super cool. It was ran freaking awesome, and I know how hard it is to do an event.
It's hard to do, and we first did our first Grunt Fest a few years ago at this man-made island that holds maybe 1,000 or 2,000 people, and we showed up with like 300 maybe. At the event.
So you didn't sell tickets and then make everybody camp and stranded on the island? Did you hear about this dude that did that?
Firefest.
Yeah, Firefly Fest or something like that.
It's not Firefly.
Like ran away
with
$23 million.
Yeah,
they arrested him though. They got him up.
They promised like really cool cabanas, and they gave him I think they gave him like
an outhouse.
They were like FEMA tents or something. They gave him instead. It's great.
Secondhand FEMA tents.
Yeah, I talked to the guys actually that they were first pitched to put on that event, and they're like, "Here's our budget. This is what we need," because they've already started selling tickets, and they like, "Hey, can you run the operations? Just make this all happen." And he looked at the budget, and he looked what he promised. He's like, "If you give me a 6x on that, sure," but they didn't charge enough at all, even though they were charging asinine amounts. He's like, "I can't put this together in 60 days.
Can't bring 50 Cent out here for."
No, well, all their money was in music.
Really?
They had nothing in operation. So
wow.
yeah.
What a mess. Yeah, not Grunfest though.
Nope.
Grunfest ran way better. So first one's on an island.
Yes, it was a lot of fun. It was bikini contest, tug of war, bathing suits.
We need a bikini contest.
I didn't win. If that's your next question.
Oh no, I think we just need one.
Oh, okay.
No, I just want to watch, but it's invite only.
So the whole idea of events, and we do beer pong, golf events, Grunfest obviously, and a couple others. But the whole point is we're so digital. Give us a way where we can get out in front of people, and then also we like to attract music talent that has a similarity in audience that we may not have access to. Hire that talent. They'll bring their fans. Now they're exposed to us, and we have more fans to market to.
Yes. No, it's amazing. We're gonna plug in on a lot more Grunfests. We got to do our joint one because we have a lot of music people.
You do.
In our network, and we really have been looking for a way to kind of do something because it is hard. It's hard and it's expensive.
Very expensive, and it only works at scale. I mean, you can run an excellent event with 300-400 people and lose your ass.
Yeah. So I have an idea for. I think sometime down the road, you and I need to take 30 days off. We get $1,000. We can't use any of our network, and we have 30 days to do 30x with a new brand and business that we come up with.
Let's do it. I used to sell websites door to door.
That would be a great video series.
Yeah, you gotta get a crew.
It's 30 days called Project Restart, like Project Reset, and that's it. We get $1,000. We don't know what we're doing.
Spend it all on lottery tickets.
We have 30 days to provide 30x.
That'd be fun. Do you know what though?
It would be a good exercise.
If both of us walked away doing that, what would that tell the rest of the world? Get your ass out. If you you can.
But
that's
the grand prize. The grand prize is we give the business to somebody.
So they can sink it? Or
No, how can everybody find you on social media?
Really, it's just Grunstyle, anything to do with Grunstyle.
But what's your Instagram? They want to know you.
Ooh.
Remember, we got to work on that.
Oh, that's
right. People need to know you.
I know. So shy when it comes to that stuff.
But you get up and give speeches at Grunfest.
It's for like 2 minutes.
That's not shy, though.
You're just yelling. All you're doing is yelling. Were you motivated?
It's a formula. You got to say fuck 4 times. You get them to go, yeah.
I do have a formula. It's you go Southern Baptist. And you have this crescendo that starts building. Oh, yeah. And then you always have to force movement and force cheering. I always do a survey, how many Marines are.
Yeah.
You force people to
get them to
involved.
engage because now they're hooked.
Now they're hooked. And then you build it up, splash, drop the mic.
Yeah, so what's your Instagram?
Daniel Alarik.
All right. Well, everyone, that was the history of Grunstyle. If you want to check them out, we have a shirt on their website right now.
Selling really hot.
Gruntstyle.com.
And the cool thing is all the proceeds go to TAPS.
Yes. Talk about TAPS real quick.
So TAPS, it's led by Bonnie, who's absolutely amazing. They're located in Washington, D.C. She lost her spouse in uniform about 2 decades ago, but since then she's built this phenomenal organization that helps Gold Star families. Basically, they've lost a family member while in service, whether it was overseas or in training, et cetera, and they help with mentorship. They do some financial support, but they really are able to walk them through, and they do such a good job with kids. I spent a weekend with their mentor group, and it's absolutely authentic and inspiring.
Yeah, because we get hit up all the time for people that want vetted charities where they know that the money's
they're
going
legit.
to the cause.
Absolutely, they're legit.
So yes, we're doing a joint venture with Grunstyle where the profits are going to TAPS, and if you want to check them out, is it taps.org?
Taps.org.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being a guest today.
Oh, thanks for having me over on your couch.
Ladies and gentlemen, Daniel Alarik from Grunstyle. This is Launchpad.